Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Montanus. I am a senior theater arts major at Boise State University for about 29 days now. Welcome to what would have been, under normal circumstances, my final showcase of my cumulative experience here at Boise State as an actor. Gotta be honest, I didn't expect it being this about a year ago, as I am sure none of my other fellow graduating classmates did. But nevertheless, we are here, the show must go on, and I need to express my thankfulness and gratitude to the faculty and staff of Boise State's Department of Theater, Film, and Creative Writing for putting up with all this blech. Thank you for your encouragement and your constant work these past way too many semesters. Thank you so much. Thank you for making this year and the rest of my undergraduate career something that I can be proud of. I've had the opportunity to perform many different styles here at Boise State, but I've discovered that Shakespeare is the one that I have the most fun with. And through my work with the Idaho Shakespeare Festival, I've come to love the highly focused, high energy, sometimes frantic nature of repertory theater. Repertory theater is, for those of you who might not know, is when a theater company produces multiple shows in rapid succession or at the same time and runs them in rep, meaning one after the other. They sometimes alternate nights or weekends or something like that. And the reason why I love this mode of performance is because the short amount of time forces you to make choices. It forces you to stick to your guns, and it gets you out of your head, which I have found is incredibly valuable, to be out of your head, because the less time you have to worry about what you're doing, the more time you're able to spend with your scene partner, and the easier it is to get rooted in the circumstances of the scene. And that's what I'm interested in achieving today. This video will be a combined performance and analysis video. I have 6 monologues, totaling 3 auditions. And before each pairing, I'll be listing specific dramatic choices that I found were incredibly helpful in rooting me in the scene and the circumstances of what was going on. Now, by the end of this showcase, through our analysis and interpretation of the text, I'm hoping that we can answer the question, what makes these characters different? And what can we as actors do? What choices can we make to help make those characters different, to differentiate them, so that I can hopefully use this in a long, illustrious future of of classic repertory theater work. So the first monologues that I'll be working with are Benedick from Much Ado About Nothing and Macbeth from Macbeth. So, what makes these characters different? Obviously, their given circumstances are very different. Benedick has just found out that Beatrice is in love with him, or so he thinks, because his friends are playing a little prank on him. And Macbeth is struggling with the choice to kill his best friend or not. So, what choice can we make to differentiate them? To differentiate them. Let's play with their goals. Benedick has to convince the audience that he can make it work with Beatrice, despite him constantly being vocal about him not being that interested in marriage. And Macbeth has to convince the audience that killing his best friend is the noble thing to do. Benedick has to put the audience at ease, and Macbeth has to rile them up against Banquo. And so here is Benedick and Banquo from Much Ado About Nothing and Macbeth. This can be no trick. Their conference was sadly born. They have the truth of this from Hero. Love me? Why? It must be requited. I hear how I am censured. They say I will bear myself proudly if I perceive the love come from her. They say, too, she would rather die than give any sign of affection. I did never think to marry. I must not seem proud. Happy are they that hear their detractions and can put them to mending. They say the lady is fair. 'Tis the truth. I can bear them witness. And virtuous. 'Tis so. I cannot reprove it. And wise. But for loving me, by my troth, it is no addition to her wit. Nor no great argument of her folly. For I will be horribly in love with her. To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus? Our fears in Banquo stick deep, and even in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. There's none but he whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked, as 'tis said Mark Antony's was by Caesar. He chid the sisters when first they put the name of king on me and bade them speak to him. Then, prophet-like, they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren scepter in my grip, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding, if 't be so. For Banquo's issue have I filed my mind? For them, the gracious Duncan, have I murdered, put rancors in the vessel of my peace, only for them, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man. To make them kings, the seed of Banquo kings? Rather than so, fate, come into the list, and champion me to the utterance. So, we can see that establishing difficult goals and fighting for them is one way to make strong, differentiable characters. Both Benedick and Macbeth have the audience pitted against them. And in watching their struggle as they have to fight for what they want, that's what's going to be interesting for an audience to see. Now, these next monologues, speaking of characters fighting for what they want desperately, These next monologues come from the same scene in King Henry IV, Part 2. Prince Harry has just walked in on his dead father, lying with a crown. Harry, thinking it's time for him to take the throne, takes the crown and exits, ready to leave his old past behind him. But King Henry wakes up. He's not dead. And he finds that his son has stolen his crown, has spit on his corpse, and ruined his image. And so, something that really helped me with these monologues and making these characters separate, because both of them are angry. Both of them have dealt with each other's baggage for years, their entire life. But playing that anger is not going to get them what they want. You yell at someone, you're angry at someone, they're going to shut down immediately. And so, for these two characters, we need to play with tactics. Because let's say they share the same goal, which is get the other one to apologize. Both of these characters are going to go about it very differently. King Henry is going to paint a picture of what England will become under Prince Harry's rule. And Prince Harry will do what his dad always wanted him to. Respect tradition. So, this is King Henry IV, Part 2. I never thought to hear you speak again. That wish was father, Harry, to that thought. I stay too long by thee, I weary thee. Dost thou hunger for mine empty seat, so much that thou wilt needs invest thee with my honours before thy hour be ripe? Oh, foolish youth! Thou seek'st that which will overwhelm thee. Thou hast stolen that which, after some few hours, were thine without offence, and at my death hast sealed up my expectation. Thy life did manifest thou lovedst me not, and thou wilt have me die assured of it. Thou hidst 1,000 daggers in thy thoughts, to stab at half an hour of my life. What? Canst thou not forbear me half an hour? Get thee gone, and dig my grave thyself, and bid the merry bells ring to thine ears, that thou art crowned, not that I am dead. Let all the tears that should bedew my hearse be drops of balm to sanctify thy head. Only compound me with forgotten dust. Give that which gave thee life unto the worms. Pluck down my officers. Break my decrees, for now the time is come to mock at form, for Harry V is crowned. Up vanity, down royal state, all you sage counsellors, hence, and to the English courts assemble now from every region apes of idleness. Now, you neighbor confines, purge you of your scum. Have you a ruffian that will swear, drink, dance, revel the night, rob, murder, and commit the oldest sins, the newest kinds of ways? Be happy, he will trouble you no more. England shall double gild his treble guilt. England shall give him office, honor, might, For the fifth Harry, from curbed license, plucks the muzzle of restraint, and wild dogs shall flesh their tooth on every innocent. Oh! My poor kingdom. When that my care could not withhold thy riots, what wilt thou do when riot is thy care? Oh, pardon me, my liege, but for my tears, the moist impediments unto my speech, I had forestalled this dear and deep rebuke, ere you with grief had spoke, and I had heard the course of it so far. There's your crown, and he who wears the crown immortally, long guard it yours. God witness with me, when I came herein and found no course of breath within your majesty, how cold it struck my heart. If I do feign, oh, let me in my present wildness die, and never live to show the incredulous world the noble change that I have purposed. Coming to look on you, thinking you dead, and dead almost, my liege, to think you were, I spake unto this crown as having sense, and thus upbraided it. The care on thee depending hath fed upon the body of my father, and therefore thou, best of gold, art worst of gold. And thus, my most royal liege, accusing it, I put it on my head, to try with it as with an enemy that before my face had murdered my father. The quarrel of a true inheritor. But if it did infect my blood with joy, or swell my thoughts to any strain of pride, let God forever keep it from my head, and make me as the poorest vassal is, that doth with awe and terror kneel to it. Quick water break. Thank you. So, the last monologues that we'll be looking at are Malvolio from Twelfth Night and the Dauphin from King John. Now, we've talked about goals and tactics, and the last thing that I wanted to cover that we can use to differentiate characters is taking a look at their choice of speech, whether they speak using verse or prose. Now, many people assume that Shakespeare is fancy language because it's old. but the truth is that many people, even back then, had trouble understanding him at times. Shakespeare is incredibly purposeful with his language, and so are the characters that he's written. Malvolio speaks in prose because he's trying to contain his excitement and not get a hold of himself and jumble his words, whereas the Dauphin speaks in verse because he's trying to make sense of an argument and is coming up with counterpoints on the fly. Now, put all of that on top of goals and tactics, and you'll have completely different characters. So here is Malvolio from Twelfth Night and the Dauphin from King John. Soft, here follows prose. If this fall into thy hand revolve. In my stars I am above thee, but be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. And to inure thyself to what thou art like to be, cast thy humble sloth and appear fresh. Be opposite with a kinsman, surly with servants. She thus advises thee that sighs for thee. Remember who commended thy yellow stockings, and wished to see thee ever cross-guarded. I say remember. Go to, thou art made, if thou desirest to be so. If not, let me see thee a steward still, the fellow of servants, and not worthy to touch fortune's fingers. Farewell. She that would alter services with thee, the fortunate unhappy. Daylight and champagne discovers not more. This is open. I will be proud. I will baffle Sir Toby. I will wash off gross acquaintance. I will be, point devise, the very man, for every reason excites to this, that my lady loves me. She did commend my yellow stockings of late. She did praise my leg being cross-gartered, and in this manifests herself to my love, and with a kind of injunction drives me to these habits of her liking. Oh, I thank my stars. I am happy. Oh. Your grace shall pardon me. I will not back. I am too high-born to be property to any sovereign state throughout the world. Your breath first kindled the dead coal of wars between this chastised kingdom and myself, and brought in matter which should feed this fire. And now 'tis far too huge to be blown out with the same weak wind which enkindled it. You taught me how to know the face of right, acquainted me with interest to this land, yea, thrust this enterprise into my heart. And come ye now to tell me that John hath made his peace with Rome? What is that peace to me? I, by the honour of my marriage bed, after young Arthur, have claimed this land for mine. And now 'tis half conquered, must I back because John hath made his peace with Rome? Am I Rome's slave? What penny hath Rome borne? What men provided? What munition sent to underprop this action? Is't not I that undergo this charge? Who else but I? And such as to my claim are liable, sweat in this business and maintain this war. Have I not heard these islanders shout out Viva le Roy as I have banked their towns? Have I not here the best cards for the game to win this easy match played for a crown? And shall I now give o'er the yielded set? No. No. On my soul, it never shall be said. So, what makes these characters different? Well, we touched on the choices that we can make to differentiate them, and those were the characters' goals, their tactics, how they go about achieving their goals, and their specific choice of speech. Now, obviously, there is an infinite number of things that you can do and choices you can make to approach a character to make them stand out in front of the rest. But these are the ones that really helped me through this process and that I plan on taking with me to throughout the rest of my professional career, wherever that may take me. So thank you. Thank you to everyone for watching this, firstly, but thank you for your never-ending support these past 4 years. I couldn't have made it this far without you all. Thanks again to the faculty and staff, and to those that I've already had the pleasure of working with until we work together again, and to those of you that I haven't worked with yet. I can't wait to. So, thank you all. Thank you.